Welcome to My Healing is Your Healing, a podcast for the woman who is ready to stop performing and reclaim her voice. I'm your host, Celeste, and around here, we don't do surface level. We go deep. Each week, we'll explore concepts like self-discovery, radical honesty, and the kind of healing that rewrites your story from the inside out. This is a space for truth-telling, for remembering who you are, and for coming home to yourself, louder, braver, and more radiant than ever. So come as you are, and let's do this together. Let's begin. Welcome back to My Healing is Your Healing. I'm Celeste, your host, and today we're talking about identity. January inside this space is all about identity, and today's episode is a grounding one. This is the episode where we slow down and we look underneath the surface and we talk about why we became who we became in the first place. Before we drop into the episode, a quick reminder. The Radiant Women's Collective is meeting live during this month of January. It is all about identity. It is online, it is free, and it is a space for real women to have real conversations. No fixing, no performing, no pretending that you have it all together. And the link is in the show notes if you want to join us. It's completely free. Now, let's frame this episode. It is not about fixing you. It is about understanding why you became who you became and deciding what no longer belongs. Identity isn't just something that we choose as adults. It's something that we were conditioned into. And before we can become the woman that you are dreaming of, we have to unlearn what the world taught you to be. So, how did we learn who we were allowed to be? Most of us learned who we were allowed to be long before we ever had the language for what identity actually is. We learned it from our families, inside of our classrooms, inside of our social circles or churches, sports teams, and our friends groups. Maybe you learned that you were supposed to be the good one early on, the good girl, the one who behaved and followed the rules and didn't cause trouble. Maybe you were the responsible one, the oldest child, the one who had to grow up too fast, take care of your siblings, get good grades, and hold it together because your parents wouldn't have to worry. Maybe you were the chameleon, the invisible one. You learned how to shrink into the background, not to draw attention to yourself, but to blend in, to be unnoticed because being noticed felt dangerous. Maybe you were the emotional one. You were too sensitive or too intense or too much. And you were constantly told, directly or indirectly, to calm down, to quiet down, or contain yourself. And layered on top of that is our gender expectations. As girls, especially if you grew up in the 80s or 90s, we were taught to be nice and polite and helpful and accommodating and pretty and quiet. Seen, not heard. We learned early that making adults uncomfortable was a problem, that taking up space was risky, that being easy was rewarded. And then there was this praise and punishment, right? What did you get praised for? Performance, achievements, being agreeable, being helpful? What made your parents smile? What made them proud? What earned affection or love or attention? And on the flip side, what got punished? What brought shame? What made love feel withdrawn from you? Because many of us learned, without anyone saying it out loud, that love was conditional. That safety came from approval, and that being good meant being safe. And so we learned to chase validation. Not because we're needy, but because we were just trying to survive. And here's the important framing around all of this that I want you to hear. This was not weakness. It was just adaptation. Children don't just choose authenticity. They choose survival. You don't just, come out and say, well, I like Tyrannosaurus Rex because XYZ, right? Because he's got big teeth and small arms, right? No, people are going to laugh at you. You choose what everyone else likes because that's what keeps you safe. Identity forms around what keeps us safe, not what keeps us true. And most of us didn't become who we are on purpose. We became who we needed to be. We learned all of these things from childhood and we just kept it. And we haven't changed since. And I want to make this real. I want to share a story of my own, not in a dramatic way, but in a human way. Because this is the part where so many of us realize, wait, I thought this was my personality. It's not. It is survival. When I was growing up, I was bullied. Not constantly, and not in like a movie scene way, but enough that I internalized this feeling of being awkward and different, an outsider. I was the band nerd, first chair clarinet. I had straight A's. I was on the varsity swim team. I was the drum major of the marching band. And on paper, I looked impressive, right? But in real life, I felt like I didn't belong anywhere. I was also a very zitty teenager, was super self-conscious, and I was not popular. I learned pretty early and quietly and over time that likability was this type of protection. Because if people liked you, then at least you weren't alone. You weren't that weird kid sitting at the lunch table that was meant for 10 people, eating a bologna and cheese sandwich, pretending that you didn't care that no one sat down next to you. So I adapted. I became the person that I thought that other people would like. And I constantly apologized. To people, to teachers, to friends. I would even say I'm sorry to inanimate objects. Like if I tripped over something, I'd be like, oh, sorry. Like I offended the chair, right? I used to think that it was cute or like charming or nice, right? But it wasn't cute. It was training. I was my body saying, don't be a problem. Don't take up space. Don't give anyone else a reason to reject you. I didn't have opinions because I wanted people to like me so badly. I changed my hair. I copied what looked popular. I bought the backpacks and the shoes and the jeans, like the Adidas with the triple stripes and the Hollister vibe, right? Even when those clothes didn't fit my body because I was muscular and strong and built like a swimmer. And I wish I could go back and tell that girl, you do not have to conform to be worthy. High school was the worst for me. Truly, I would not go back, not for anything. And this didn't just show up in friendships or just in high school, right? It showed up in love. I wanted to be loved so badly that I didn't just date, I planned. Like, I wouldn't let go of one relationship until there was a backup plan because I thought that being alone felt like danger. So even into my 30s, I could still feel this pattern lingering. If someone liked a certain thing, I would learn it. If a man was into something, I'd suddenly be able to talk about it. Not because I actually care, but because I wanted to be chosen. I became the ultimate chameleon. I didn't want to be left. Whatever you liked, I can like too. I wouldn't speak too soon because if I said the wrong thing, then I'd have to correct myself and pivot and pretend. And I didn't admit that I liked certain things like mushrooms or salsa dancing or whatever it is that I like right now until very recently because I didn't want to be the weirdo. But here is the critical insight. I thought that was who I was. I thought my identity was just being nice, being malleable and easy, being a people pleaser, a perfectionist. And I thought it was a good thing that I could become whatever someone else needed me to be. I realized this was not an identity. It was a strategy. It was my survival plan. It's not my truth. It's not who I am. And when I started to unpack who I really was, what I liked, what I wanted, what I believed, it felt like this straitjacket had finally come off. I could breathe. I could sing. I could dance. I could express myself in ways that I hadn't even known were available to me. And that was the biggest realization. I had been giving people access to my choices for so long that I forgot I had choices. I gave away my decisions, my desires, my preferences, my voice. And so many women don't realize that they're wearing a mask until they finally start taking it off. Because when you're in it, when you're deep in that web, of people pleasing, you cannot see the web. You're walking on it, you're living inside of it, you're thinking, this is my life. Until something happens. Someone asks you a question. You hit a breaking point. You have an experience that makes you go, oh shit, no, absolutely not. And then clarity hits and your world opens and you start realizing, I don't want this. I don't want that. I actually like this thing and I actually want that thing. And suddenly you're meeting yourself for the first time. So this is where this tone shifts here. This is where the unlearning phase starts. And unlearning is not a rebellion. It's a reclamation. It's not, screw you to everyone who raised me in society for teaching me this thing. It is not, I'm going to be selfish now. It is simply, I am done betraying myself. And you're not becoming selfish because you're doing this. You are becoming honest. You are becoming yourself. And yes, some people may not like it. Because when you stop being the version of yourself that is easiest for other people to manage, they feel it. But the right people, you are finally giving them the chance to meet you. Now, I want to talk about this sensation of unlearning because, man, it is not always gentle. Sometimes it feels like metal on metal or nails on a chalkboard. That grinding sensation of what you're giving people on the outside no longer matches what you know to be true on the inside. And it's this gritty, uncomfortable feeling where your body is screaming I can't do this anymore. It feels so weird. And that is often the moment that you realize I cannot live this old version of my life anymore, this version of me. And you start trying to peel off this mask of who you were, but it's really, really thick because it's been reinforced for years or decades with duct tape and, anything else that you could plaster on there just so that people would see this version of you. I want to reassure you. Unlearning feels destabilizing because those old rules, that old version of yourself kept you safe. It was there for a reason. And your nervous system is not impressed by your new intentions. It just wants you to survive. It wants you to be safe. And it's alert, red alarms, this thing is scary. But, so yes, stepping into this unknown version of yourself can feel terrifying. But once you start putting your feet on solid ground and you start experiencing what it feels like to be aligned and to start making these decisions that are actually this new version of you, it stops feeling so much like chaos and it starts feeling more of a recalibration, relief. So here's what I want you to take from this episode. Unlearning your identity is an act of courage. It's not defiance. You are not defying your mother. You're not defying your childhood. And you are not trying to prove something. You are simply choosing the truth over approval. And you're choosing alignment over being liked by other people. Not by Todd in 6th grade. Not by strangers. Not by the version of you that still believes approval equals safety. And when you do that, you're not burning bridges. You are actually building alignment. And yes, some people may fall away, but the right people will find you here. And that is what is so special. And that's what I'm actually learning right now, is the right people will start finding you in your life. So we have one tool for this week. That is it. This is the mask inventory. I want you to ask one question all throughout your day, all throughout your week. Where am I still performing to be accepted? And when you notice you're wearing the mask, pause and check in. Where in my body do I feel this? What am I afraid would happen if I didn't do this thing for approval? And then what would honesty sound like instead? You don't need to rip the mask off today. That's not the goal here. The goal is awareness. Just notice when you're wearing that mask and give yourself one moment of choice for the next time. That is enough. So if this episode resonated for you, I would love to hear from you. You can find me on Instagram at myhealingyourhealing. You can explore the free resources on my website and downloads at myhealingisyourhealing.com. And if you want to do this work in real time with Radiant Women, you can join us at the Radiant Women's Collective. It is free. It is online. We meet every other Wednesday night. And this month we're in identity. Next month we move on to self-worth. My work is for the woman who is done performing, done disappearing, and is ready to come home to herself honestly, gently, and on purpose. So until next time, keep showing up, keep growing, and remember, you were never meant to dim your light. Thanks for tuning in and being here, for healing out loud, and for walking this path beside me. If this episode cracked something open or helped you remember a part of yourself, pass it on and share it with someone you love. For more support, free resources, or the next steps to your journey, head over to my website, myhealingisyourhealing.com. And if you loved today's conversation, subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your words help this space grow and help more women find their way home to themselves. If I was your muse today, then my healing is your healing. Until next time.